Jay and I and Wes were super excited to kind of share with you a bunch of different things. Some things, I guess, we already let the cat out of the bag, but we're going to be Jay's going to be doing a demo of some really groundbreaking research around the AI model for the good part of last year. So we'll get to that in about 10 or 15 minutes. But before that, we have a few questions that the community has prepared over the last few days, and we wanted to run through those. So maybe we can, we can get started, and as soon as Wes's situation is resolved, he can join us. So the first question that we got from community member is, what part will the Theta token play in the future of Edge Cloud? How will Theta Labs look to reward users for securing the network, including the new Edge Cloud service? So just a quick recap for everyone. As you know, TFIO has been the primary utility and the gas token for the Theta network and the ecosystem. And of course, when we launched our native chain back in 2019, we had the main Theta token, which is the staking governance token. So of course, by staking Theta, you earn TFIO. Now, Edge Cloud, as we launched last week, is powered by, of course, by TFIO. And with the June 26th release that's coming up with the elite boosters, it's really an opportunity to take sort of that TFIO utility and participating in the broader ecosystem for Edge Cloud that's really fueled by TFIO, no pun intended. And I think that's really a big basis for the Theta and TFIO. Now, with TFIO utility increasing primarily around AI use cases, but also video pipeline use cases, rendering, gaming in the future, we see TFIO's utility token, becoming much more popular and widespread, which in turn, of course, should fuel, again, no pun intended, the primary Theta token.
So also would like to add that some of you guys might have noticed that for Edge Cloud, right? So we have multiple payment methods supported. So currently, the customer can pay through USD, but in the future, we're going to add payments through TFIO, right? So it's going to come, which will increase the utility of TFIO on the Edge Cloud platform.
The next set of questions that we got from the community are mobile edge nodes coming soon, and more information for smartphones and smart TVs. So this is, I think it's a really great question. As you know, we did announce a few weeks ago in a blog post that we are working on the Android version of the Edge node. Really happy to, and I'm gonna get in trouble again. We do this every single time. I'm gonna be speaking for Ryan or and our developers that that it should be launching next few weeks. So we're super excited. Of course, that's gonna be available on the Google Play Store. You can be able to download it. And what's more interesting is that the initial use case that we identified is really exciting. It's really utilizing AI object detection for for video clips. So imagine one of our partners has a very large user generated platform where people submit thousands of videos a day. So being able to run that through this AI model where you can essentially detect that, look, this 5-minute clip is about, a dog on the beach, versus that 2-minute clip is about my parrot, talking in Spanish, or something like that. And so the whole concept of object detection and understanding sort of the context of a video clip is something that we're going to be launching with. And it's going to be running under sort of calibration mode or test mode. So we want to be cautious, at least initial stage, that we're really testing sort of the infrastructure and sort of the capabilities of the mobile device, right, and the CPU and GPU capabilities. But I think the important point about this particular use case is that it really enables what we call sort of this ability to parallel process, which is really an ideal use case for a distributed network of nodes, right? Particularly mobile devices, right? With tens, hundreds of millions actually billions of devices around the world. Really the ability to take, look, if you have a 5-minute video clip, you can slice that into 100 pieces of 5 seconds each, and that can be essentially processed, and then that can be brought back and assimilated into sort of, one end result, right? That essentially determines what the content of that is. So we're super exciting. So that's coming up soon, next few weeks.
Yeah. Super excited about that. And then looking forward to the future, right? So I see people, especially the cell phone manufacturers, they are talking about throwing even more powerful hardware, right? Chips onto their cell phone in the future. For example, they may have, some AI specific ASIC, right? So ASIC chips into a cell phone, and then you can, as you can imagine, that they will open the door to even more potential edge cloud computing opportunities, right? So your cell phone will be able to process, even more complex tasks, then which will enable our edge cloud to be able to reap those resources and more efficiently.
Perfect. So
testing. You got me back now?
We can hear you, Wes.
Yeah.
This is for Kyle to test if it's on the stream, but you can keep going.
All right, we'll keep going. And the question is,
Wes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the question is whether the community can hear you, Wes. All right, we'll keep going. All right, we'll keep going, and then as soon as the community, you guys can put in chat whether you can hear Wes or not. Right. That'd be great. But let's keep moving sort of to the next question that submitted by the community. What is there anything significant about the June 26th date of our booster launch? Every other launch has been the first of the month. Was there a particular reason for this date? And the short answer is no, not really. I mean, it was really driven by, Jay, you can talk a bit about sort of development cycle and the fact that we wanted to launch the Edge Cloud, the developer interface, earlier, right, as we did on May 1st, with the booster coming up at the end of June. One nice thing about the end of June is the fact that it's also the end of the quarter. So for those of you that will be participating in the 3, 6, 12-month lock, it kind of ends at each of the quarters, right? End of September and December and so on and so forth. So that's the key driver there.
Yeah. So June 26th is a Wednesday, right? Middle of the week. So we can have all hand on deck, right? Working towards this release. Yeah,
it is a little bit risky. There's a lot of moving parts, right? It's highly complex software Jay and the team's working on. Also, in the US, the week after is a 4th of July weekend, and some people are taking some time off, so we just want to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So moving on, a related question is more clarity on the booster rewards, right, for June 26th. In particular, the 3-month lock, the amount that can be earned, as well as the 6 and the 12 months. So again, just to recap, I know we've put out a couple FAQs, but sometimes it's good to kind of for us to review sort of the overall pieces, right, for the 26 launch. So first of all, to become a lead booster node, you have to stake a full 500,000 TPO from a single dedicated wallet, right? So that's sort of the first requirement at that point. When you go to the elite node or your edge node UI, you'll see a new interface that will enable you to see the edge cloud. From there, you can lock an additional 500,000 TPO across the 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month option, right? And it could be any combination. It could be 200, 200, 100, or 400, 100, and so on and so forth. And that essentially enables you to earn a proportional share of all of the edge cloud rewards from all the jobs that's being processed in our cloud-based AI GPUs. And then if you were to unstake a portion of that initial 500,000 TPO, then you'll become essentially disqualified. You'll no longer be earning the edge cloud booster rewards. So of course, we encourage you to keep that staked. And our target earnings, as you can imagine, the earnings for the TPO locked should be higher than the base TFL staking rewards, which is currently around 7%. It should be higher than 7%. But that depends in terms of how much higher, whether it's like 15% or 30%, that really depends on the amount of GPU that's utilized, a percent of the GPU that's utilized in the cloud. But as we get going, you'll be able to quickly see sort of your pending earnings, which will show in the dashboard in your Edge node, and they'll be paid out once per month. So similar to the current Edge node jobs, it'll be paid out at the end of each month. But you'll be able to see your year or your month to date rewards there. Did I miss anything?
Oh yeah, I think just also I think what I'd like to mention that the reward, right, it could come in different forms. It could
Yes.
be TFU token and could be other TNT20 tokens, right?
Correct.
Combination.
So it's going to be a combination of TFL as well as partner tokens, right? That's utilizing the Edge Cloud for certain types of jobs, primarily AI rendering types of jobs. So in aggregate, those returns will be should be higher. Again, should be higher than the base staking of 7%. Okay, great.
Yeah, cool.
Is Wes back with us?
Back for real this time. Chat can hear me. So thanks back at HQ for figuring out whatever that issue was. And yeah, happy to be here since you missed the original intro. Said happy to be live from Amsterdam. It's late night here, but excited to talk to the Theta community. So glad we could finally connect here. So I'll jump in. There's one from Twitter that I thought was interesting. An important one to clarify too about whether for Edge Cloud clients, are they paying Theta Labs directly that distributes to Edge Cloud nodes, or the clients paying directly to the nodes for taking on jobs? Basically, how does all that work? And if it's in USD, or is it possible to use USD to utilize the services? So short answer is, for now, clients will just transfer in the V1 transfer to Theta Labs, who distributes it over the edge nodes. The eventual vision is that through a dashboard and set of smart contracts, possibly, you'll just upload what you're going to be, whatever crypto that you're going to be using to pay the nodes, and it can be transferred directly. There still will be the option, I imagine, through either Theta Labs or a third-party payment provider, if you want to use USD and have that converted to crypto, whether it's T-Fuel or the TNT20 token, to pay Edge Cloud nodes in the future, because there will be a lot of clients, no doubt. Some are going to be crypto native and happy to pay in T-Fuel, or Levita Replay may be wanting to pay in their own native currency to Edge node operators. But some are going to be big clients. I would assume that one just pay in dollars. Either we can convert it, or just like you see today, where there's MoonPay and all these other payment processors that quickly make it easy to pay in dollars, convert to crypto. Same will do for Edge nodes as well.
Great, excellent. I did see a question maybe before we go to the next area, right before Jay's demo. I'm super excited, right, to show you guys. Jay will get into some pretty crazy stuff. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. There was a question in Data Drop chat whether I want to know if AWS is involved at all. So so once again, in my past AMAs always talk about there's a lot of partners that we work with. I can absolutely tell you that AWS is one of the partners that we are actively working with, but we can't announce anything just yet. And as you guys know, we don't like to pre-announce things. So when we're ready for that, you'll definitely be the first to know. I do know that some of our other partners out there may have said or shared a few things, and that's okay. But we're super excited. And as you can imagine, there's really three primary cloud leaders in the space. So I can definitely say that we are excited to be working with all three. So with that, Jay.
So it's a good segue to transition to some of the kind of technical related questions, right? So I saw one on Twitter. So what is the main difference between traditional AI data centers and edge cloud AI processors, right? Can they perform the same computation on them both? So yeah, I'll say that on Theta Edge Cloud, so we have this unbeatable performance to price ratio, right? So because we incorporate not just the GPUs in the cloud or data centers, but also a bunch of GPUs from you guys, right? The community, right? So that can help us to reduce the operation costs, so we can offer our services at a lower price point compared to traditional cloud vendors, right? So that's the first thing. The second is that I want to emphasize that the Edge Cloud is not just a bunch of cluster of GPUs, but we build a stack of middleware software, right? And then UI UX for developers. So make it developer friendly. If you guys have some of the developer in the community might know that if you want to actually run a, let's say, large language model or a stable diffusion in the cloud, then you have to first go in and then start a VM or a cluster or something and do a bunch of things, right? It could take you a day to set the environment up and then to get you the inference endpoint to start integrate into your app. But in Edge Cloud, because we have this simple UI, a developer can just do a few clicks on the UI, and then boom, he has these the inference endpoint, which is ready to be incorporated into the application, right? So they simplify the UI UX and then really boost the efficiency for the developers, right? So those are the main two differences. So so come to use our Edge Cloud, so which will be I think we'll be delighted to see its features.
Yeah, and if I can add just a little bit to the price to performance, which as you guys know is on the homepage of our Edge Cloud dashboard. And I think that's a really important one for us to emphasize, and that's really sort of our vision for the future of the decentralized hybrid, right, cloud and distributed system that we're building, is the fact that, as part of this middleware that Jay described, as part of this software layer that we're adding, is the ability to really route certain types of AI jobs, or even some subcomponents, sub pieces of an AI job, having that intelligence coming in and be able to then route that to the best price to performance GPU, right? And that could, for instance, earlier I described the mobile Android use case being, specifically around video and object detection, scene detection. That's the type of thing that we think works extremely well on distributed nodes like a mobile GPU, and potentially, other devices like smart TVs, where it's fairly low requirement in terms of computation. And so in that case, why would you necessarily want to run that on an expensive A100, GPU? It just doesn't make sense, right? Where you have potentially these tens of thousands of nodes that can do that much more efficiently and much cheaper. So that's sort of a key piece to the price performance. The other thing I just read on Twitter just before we start the AMA, I know we have a community member that does a great tracking of our some of our stats across our network, and we saw that the number of elite nodes in our network have surpassed 10,000 in the last few days, which is a huge accomplishment. I think we've been working towards that for quite a while. And that's been steadily increasing, which is just amazing to see. And the fact that the TFL staking unlocked is now approaching 40%. I think we're just a little bit shy of that. We're at 39 point some percent. We would love to see that approach 50, 60% plus over the next few months or over the next year. And that's really, really amazing. So I think we're making tremendous progress there, and we still got about a month and a half before the June 26th launch of the booster, which incidentally, if you go to our homepage, we did add a countdown clock, to the booster launch. So that's going to be a next major initiative for us. So very exciting there. So with that, Jay, are you ready?
Yeah. I think talking about technology, right? Talking about the intermediate middleware and software we're building. So it's a good time to switch to our demo today. So we'd like to unveil this groundbreaking sketch to 3D Gen AI technology we've been working on in the past few months. Right? So let me switch to my desktop. Okay. So you guys can see my slides, right? Showing up. Okay. So let's go. Go for it. So this is a sketch to 3D Gen AI technology. And then what is the main purpose, right? The goal is to turn a 2D hand-drawn sketch, right, into 3D models, right? And then what are applications? A lot of you, I think you probably already have this application ideas in mind, but I would like to emphasize that in areas like animation, gaming, movie, architecture, and industrial design, right? There's a bunch of different use cases. For example, in gaming, in the early design for games, that the artist, right, has to come up with all the characters and all the scenes, right? And then they want to visualize those in the 3D environment. But right, without this automated tools, they have to work with 3D designers to in iterations to come up with this 3D models and environments. So this, firstly, it requires the 3D designer to be highly versatile in various types of tools. And also, this is very labor intensive, so it could take days, right, to turn around. So the entire iteration becomes really, really long, right, really, really slow. So we would like to build a new technology which can turn this 2D hand drawing automatically into 3D, right? So what are the challenges there? So we want it to be fast, right? Super fast, much faster than the traditional workflow. So maybe it takes only 1 minute, 30 seconds to turn around, so that we will kind of speed up, right, the working process tremendously. But the second challenge is related to the quality of the outcome. So we do want to preserve the subtle details and the shape envisioned by the artist in the 2D sketch, right? We want the detail to be present in the final 3D, right? So that's poses another major challenge to this technology. So in order to address this problem, so we have developed a unique 3D GenAI technology. So follow the model pipeline concept, right? We have been talked about in our blog post since last year. So here I have a diagram showing this pipeline. So it has two stages, right? The first stage, it leverages the stable diffusion and also control net. Those are technologies just come up in the literature in last year, in a few months ago. So this first stage will take the sketch from the user as input. In addition, it optionally take a text prompt, right, as input. So through the text prompt, you can describe the sketch in a little bit more detail, right? And then maybe you can tell that certain aspect of the model you want it looks like animation style or like realistic style and all that, right? So all this will be taken as input and fed into the first stage model. As you can see, there's a very complicated multi-stage, multi-layer neural network here, right? So after a few rounds of processing, so it turns out generate a 2.5D images, right, which is the 3D image projected on a 2D plane. So after that, so once we have this image, then we need to leverage some of the very advanced algorithm to extract the primary object from this generated 2D image, right? And reduce the background noises, right? So, and after that, once we have the major object, then we leverage the so-called LRM model, so which has come out of Adobe and Stability AI, right? As you can see, there's multiple stages of processing, and then after a bunch of computation, you finally come out is the 3D model here, right? So which can be inputted into some 3D modeling tool, so that for the designer and the game developers, right, to visualize and then to determine what to do next, right? So this is the kind of high-level overview of this technology. Then maybe without further ado, maybe we can go into the demo itself. Sure. Or maybe if you want to add a few things here.
I think one of the interesting aspects here, JE is being, I think, very conservative here in the words, but this is really groundbreaking technology. I think what's really unique here, and this is many years of effort, right, with the engineering team, is developing this concept of a model pipeline. And if you really look at sort of real world use cases, for instance, large animation, big budget films, coming out of Hollywood, where you're trying to essentially create these 3D environments and characters, it is extremely expensive, not just because of the technology involved in terms of GPU processing required, but it's also the workflow. It's the fact that you have multiple teams and multiple groups of people, right, different skill sets, right? The from the ideation phase, right, the artists that create the 2D sketches to then turning that into sort of initial 3D models, right, to visualize, and then you go go through that loop and that cycle, many times before you then move on to the next phase, which is refinement and improvement and adding the scenes, adding the background, adding the transitions. All that is extremely complex. And that is what we believe, with this concept of model pipeline, which we'll be talking about more and more, as really a unique area of research that Jay and the team has started on. And this is sort of our first output of that, is really to use a model pipeline, AI model pipelines, to essentially minimize and streamline the workflow involved in real world use cases, right, where there's real people involved. So this is really absolutely groundbreaking. One other application model pipeline, which I also, I guess, share here, which again, part of the engineering team might kill me, but we are going to be doing an update to the AI showcase for our text to image, the stable diffusion, which many of you have been playing with and is super exciting. We're going to be adding a model pipeline there as well, where we automatically will be taking your prompt and feeding that into the Llama 3 chatbot, producing an enhanced prompt, and then the associated image out of the stable diffusion text to image. But the way we'll do that is that we'll actually put them side by side. So you'll be able to see your original prompt, and then you'll be able to see the enhanced prompt. And so I think this is a really unique way for us to then let you play with it and be able to then get even better at it, and a great application again of model pipeline.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so without further ado, let's switch to the second tab. So here I'm showing the Model Explorer, right, on Edge Cloud. So if you have visited this Edge Cloud this morning, you might notice that we have added a new model, right? So we just sketch to 3D. This is developed by Theta, so we have our Theta logo here. To launch it, very easy. Just click on it and then just keep the default option here, and then just click on create the new deployment here. It will after create the deployment here, it will take some time to initialize this model. But this morning I have already deployed one of this model on our deployment dashboard, so I can go directly to there and show you what this looks like. Okay. So I click on this inference endpoint here, right? So you can, as you can see on this, on this UI, you have this left part and the right part, right? So on the left part, it allows you to either upload an image or do a sketch, right, directly on this drawing board. And then on the right side here, there's a couple buttons. So when you click through this button, so we'll be able to generate a 3D model. Okay, so now let me start the first demo. So where I actually have a piece of paper here. I'm not sure you guys can see it. So it is a sketch of a car, right? So I'm getting closer. It took me 5 hours to draw it, so lots of effort. So okay, so
you're not an artist.
I'm not an artist. So the true artist probably would take just 1 minute, right? So hopefully, but I have this piece of paper, and then before this demo, I already took a picture and then sent it to my desktop. So let's switch back to the desktop UI and then see if I can just upload the photo of this sketch, and then whether I can turn it into a 3D model. Okay, so yeah, I just uploaded this the car sketch here. And then the next step, pretty simple. I can just click on Generate 2D, right? And I wait for a few seconds.
Of course, this is all live and
it's all live,
being
right?
processed, through our Edge Cloud servers.
Yeah, it's running Edge Cloud. So you can see that now you have this 2.5D image here, which is showing a racing car, right? But let's say if I don't like this image, I can actually type a prompt here to modify it, right? So people always ask, when Lambo, right? So how about we generate a Lamborghini racing car here and see how it looks like. Okay, so this is nice. Maybe I feel it's better looking. And now, so let's try to do the last one magic step to turn it into a 3D object. Okay, I just click on Generate 3D. Okay, so But if you ask when Lambo's here. So so I can zoom in, zoom out, right, and then see the detail of it, and I can rotate it, right. So as you can see that I can even look at it from the back, right, from the top and all that, right. So it shows the car from different angle. I'll admit that in the current shape of form, the resolution is a bit low, right? So there's a lot of details not translated into this 3D object. But 2 years ago, people say the same for Stable Diffusion and Mid-Journey, right? And as you know, in the past 2 years, so that the field rapidly advancing, and then so today it has be able to produce really high resolution 2D images. Then you can envision like 1 year from now, 2 years from now, so how this what this can be, right? So it would be a really useful tool.
Yeah, it looks very simple, and you guys saw in real time here that the generation of the 2.5D image and the corresponding 3D was just a second or two. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? A lot of processing, neural networks, and AI model that's being run, the inference points. And I think this example here is really groundbreaking. It's really stunning. The fact that this could really, at the very least, really impact the early stages of ideation and content creation, modeling, animation, right? As I mentioned, within the media and entertainment space, within the gaming space, right? Anytime you're developing a game in a particular scene or characters, be able to draw that out and be able to visualize that, within a few minutes is incredible. Right. This alone could, shortcut the game initial design phases by X factors, and it's really exciting. So
yeah. So in addition, if you're an artist, then you might not just want to watch do this rotation inside this web interface. So but we have this feature that where you can click here and download the 3D model onto a desktop, right? So after that, you can import it into some 3D modeling tools, right, to refine it, right, to look at how it looks like and place in the scene, right, so that to integrate it into your workflow, right. So there's one feature I want to show here.
Or just as easily be able to then import that model right into your Unity, right? Unity development environment or Unreal,
Adobe, right?
And be able to then place that within your game scene. Very quickly there.
Yeah. So okay. So this is the first demo. So let me do the second demo. So yeah, some people might say that, hey, I don't want to do a sketch, right? It took too much time. So what should I do? So yeah, so let me show you this. So this is just one image, right? So where did I get this image? Obviously, I'm not drawing this. I'm not that good. So, but I used our AI showcase actually to generate this Godzilla from a text, right? So go to AI showcase and just type in Godzilla and tune the parameter, and I got something like this. And then here I can try to see what it looks like if I turn it into a 2D. Right here, right? So let's actually turn this one into a 2.5D image, which looks a little bit more 3D-ish, right, in this image. And then I can next to click here and then turn it into a 3D model. Some processing time, but pretty fast. A lot going on behind the scene, right? But right, as you can see, right, you have the Godzilla here in 3D.
Wow. There it is, right? It's a little bit rough, but I think again this last step is probably the most challenging step. There's going to be a lot more progress over the next 6-12 months.
Yeah, I would believe so. You can use some prompt to to help you to to do some ideation work. So for example, if I want to modify this Godzilla to be a combination of Godzilla and racing car, so how it looks like, right? So. Okay, it looks something like a blending between a Godzilla and a racer driver or a racing car. So, and then you can obviously click once more to turn it into a 3D model. So this is pretty useful because sometimes when I imagine that for a game designer that sometimes you have to come up with a new character, and then you can obviously use your imagination to do that, but sometimes the AI can be helpful, right, to help you to create something never existed before. Right? So this is quite interesting feature as well. And then lastly, so if you don't want to draw at all, I don't want to, prepare an image at all. What can I do? I can directly type in the prompt here. For example, I'll just do a fighter jet. See how it looks like. Okay, so this is, just taking from the text and then generates 3D directly. So without any sketch, any drawing. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit rough here. So some distortion. But yeah, so as time goes by, this will become better. I feel that sometimes it may be better for if you generate something like a rectangular shape form.
But also keep in mind that, these base models are not necessarily trained on specific data, right?
Yes.
So like, for instance, if you are really in a production environment that's doing, gaming 3D characters or, animals or fighter jets or something like that, you would, refine that initial model, right? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So for example, so I do a mansion. So this is more rectangular, and let's see how it looks like. Okay. So I think this one, preserve the geometry a little bit better, right? You can see that shape of form. And then let's say if you're doing a fantasy game or something, you might be already be able to generate all those 3D objects and then place it into a scene you design, right? And then have a feel, right? Have a sense of how it would look like.
Yeah, and actually extrapolated the back of the house, right. Of this mansion, which you can't see from the 2.5D image. And this is just amazing, right? The fact, Jay, that you showed, not just being able to take a hand-drawn sketch and then, going through that first step of generating 2.5D image and then the 3D, but also then doing, feeding in an image, right? An image which generates an image. And then lastly, text to image to 3D, text to 2.5 to 3D. So, lots of different use cases here. Very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. This will also reinforce our concept of model pipeline, right? Especially in the case where I type in text and using our AI showcase to generate image and then put image here to generate 3D, right? So another example of this AI pipeline.
Right, concept. Which is, again, part of our vision that Jay and I have been speaking a lot about as the future of edge cloud is really going really deep in sort of this workflow and AI pipeline type of concept where you could, in fact, incorporate multiple models. You could even replace this intermediate, if you don't feel that this particular model is, adequate or is as specialized for mentions. In this case, you can replace that with another AI model or checkpoint of a model where it's, specialized for that. And that's really, really exciting. And then how do you then make that very easy for developers through our dashboard to then, perhaps even visually be able to draw boxes and draw lines, input, output into these different aspects of the pipeline.
Yeah. And last not least, but for our developer friends out there, so you can access all these features through APIs. Right? So you just go down here and click on use via API. So it pops up the API documentation and some kind of code examples, so which allow you to actually integrate that into your own application or website.
Yeah, again, this is huge, right? Being able to take these, endpoints and essentially the API interfaces and be able to build a front end effectively, very easily, very quickly. Again, in a large organization, as you can imagine, particularly sort of these studios and production houses, you can put together a very simple, web page, inside your company and be able to then enable and let other people play with this and socialize. And I think it really kind of goes to our conversation that we've had a lot about. And I know Andrea has been out there talking a lot about the sort of concept of democratizing content and sort of enabling anyone to be able to contribute and to be creative. And I think this applies not just sort of from a community standpoint, but within these large organizations as well. I mean, it could very well be that a particular game designer or a game developer may have a better idea for a particular scene or a particular sort of image or object, perhaps even more so than the designer, the artist, himself or herself. So that's really, really exciting.
Yeah. So the model itself is already available on our Model Explorer today. So if you guys interested, you can jump on it and start to use it. And in the coming weeks, right, we'll be working on adding that to our AI showcase so that you guys can use it for free.
Oh yeah. We definitely get that on the showcase.
Okay, yeah.
So you guys can then do videos of yourselves, drawing a piece of paper and scanning that into the showcase.
Yep. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
I think this is the demo today. Exciting.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can jump back to some of the questions.
To the question. So the next question is also related to Edge Cloud. It's a plan that Edge Cloud we use as an infrastructure for other platforms or services. Yeah, I think we just talk about a lot of use cases, like for example, for those game developers, right? And then as you can imagine, besides the example that Mitch talked about, using that as internal tool in the game studio, a developer house, but it can also be powering like chatbots, right? For some other platforms. And then let's say if an artist, they want to use a tool which has this image and video generative AI tools, that those tools can be powered by Edge Cloud, right? So
certainly from a DApp, from an application standpoint, but also we've been having conversations with partners and customers where they are looking for very specialized chatbots that they can incorporate for marketing purposes, for engagement purposes, for instance, on their website. So that's another example. A much simpler example where you can, feed a particular chatbot and fine tune it for specific data that's in your industry or for your particular company, and then for that to be made available to your customers, your consumers. So that's again a B2B2C, right? We're providing infrastructure, right, to power these specialized chatbots. So these are all different examples that we think are really opens up, a bunch of different opportunities for us. And then, we had a follow-on question. So we're, going through this fairly quickly because we want to take more questions from you live. But a follow-on question is, how does Edge Cloud ensure confidentiality and data privacy? Is any text or data exchanges visible or stored by the network or nodes without encryption? And that's really a great question. And this goes back to earlier description overview that Jay was talking about, building this sort of this virtual layer or this middleware layer where our incoming jobs, we know whether those are from particular corporate customers, right, where privacy and sensitivity to data is pretty high, versus potentially open source projects or potentially some text to image projects or to video where the privacy is not so important. In that case, we have the ability, right, through the Edge Cloud platform to route that, whether, as we described in the white paper, if there is a lot of sensitivity, that can be routed and performed by GPUs in our cloud data centers versus in our distributed network, right? Eventually in our distributed nodes that you guys are running on your PCs and Macs and eventually Android devices, mobile devices, and other types of devices in the future. So this is the type of thing I think that we can very, very easily and very efficiently be able to manage, right? If there is that concern. Cool. Should we go to a break? Go to the live chat that we have on Theta Drop and see if there's some questions that we want to take.
Yeah, let's. You guys start adding your questions if you want.
Don't hear you.
Am I? Mic's on. You guys can't hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Hold on. I'll.
You can?
I can hear it.
Okay. You guys can hear me all right?
Continue then.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys start throwing questions in the chat, and we'll also scroll up. I saw a lot of people having other questions too, so maybe we can find some good stuff to kick things off. Let's see. So it's interoperable with 3D printers. That's quite an interesting question. I mean, maybe not out of the box, but I think that would be, in the future, think about it. You could go sketch to model and just, adjust the model as needed, change your prompts. And once you're happy with the model, one click to send it to the 3D printer.
Actually, that's an interesting idea, right? So I think the model we generated, the output format is pretty generic, so that potentially can be imported into existing tools, right? And then from there, you can do your modification and you can do your, change the model a little bit and then put it into actual 3D, right? So we'd like to see if we can actually have something like concrete, right? From your idea to something real in life.
Yeah. Let's see. A lot of questions about Coinbase. Yeah, well, I'll let you guys chime in if you want, but I mean, the shorter answer is we speak with these guys we know fairly well, and we if there's something we can announce, we will, but we don't like to step out of turn with potential partners, and can't really say much until we're allowed to say it. So it's not really telling you a whole lot, but all this to say is we love to have something announced, and when we're allowed to say things publicly, we will.
Right. Also, we saw one question about Elite Booster on June 26th. Are we going to see increased jobs, right, on Elite Booster? So the concept is a slight difference. So because the edge cloud currently running those containerized jobs, right, in the GPU machines, right, not necessarily on the user computer yet, right. In the future, we'll extend to that, so that the way we reward a user will be slightly different. So we'll update the UI. So then, if you download a new version of the edge node, you will see the UI which shows, for example, your accumulated earning for Elite Booster, right? Pending earning for this month, right? It will keep increasing until at the end of the month it will be pay off, right? It will be reset to 0 and start recurring again for next month. And then we also add a few other UI changes so that you can see more kind of statistics, right, about what's going on in the edge cloud.
So if users ask about T-drop use cases, so that's actually what we saw on Twitter too that we wanted to address. If you hadn't seen, we're excited to see that Open Theta is integrating T-drop soon. In their last white paper that they released a few weeks ago, they're adding it as an incentive. Basically, if you have T-drop, then you can stake it alongside their own native token they're creating. And that gives you voting rights on how Open Theta operates for various things. And also, I think, access to certain drops as well. So that's really exciting. We're talking to some other platforms as well to have T-drop almost serve like the liquidity mining or incentive token for any type of exchange platform. It doesn't just have to be Theta Drop, the platform Theta Drop. And so that's something that I've been working on and talking to several platforms about, basically like allocating T-drop and giving that same flywheel to encourage users to trade or to use their platform, whatever it is for the use case for different platforms. But yeah, long way of saying we are working on expanding use cases for T-drop for sure.
Yeah, I also saw this question: does the Edge Elite Booster reward, right, goes back to the original staking wallet, or it is to the Elite Edge node itself? So I think that our current design is that the reward will go back to the wallet you stake your TFU from, right? You stake your TFU and lock your TFU from the staking wallet, then you will receive a reward in that wallet.
A related question: how much TFL do you need to stake? Again, just trying to be really clear, right? To participate in the Elite Booster, you have to stake the full 500,000 TFL to your Elite, and then you can stake you can lock an additional 500,000 beyond that for a total of 1 million. Right.
Great. Shall we go back?
Yeah, should we go back to some of the questions submitted beforehand?
Yeah, and we can jump back as well. Give some time if we have extra time to jump back into user questions. But a few others I pulled out. Well, since we're just talking about T-Drop, so someone asked, so some TNT20 tokens are starting to get on centralized exchanges, but native TNT20 T-Drop is stuck on decentralized exchanges only that require some expert knowledge to provide. So that is true that DEXs tend to be a little more complicated if you're not a big crypto user. Pretty easy once you try it a few times, but still, yeah, that could be a learning curve versus a centralized exchange. T-Drop is actually on Gate and BitThumb. BitThumb only for Korean users, but Gate accessible pretty much anywhere. Might possibly not the US, and we are talking to other exchanges about TNT20 access as well. And you may have noticed a few listed on other centralized exchanges like Bexy recently. That always makes it very easy to list additional TNT20 tokens because then there's no technical integration really. It's just it's a pretty quick leap from there. So that's great. Every time you see a TNT20 token on a new centralized exchange, it means it's much easier for more to come after that. So that's great to see. We are also working on some upgrades for Theta Swap to improve liquidity. Basically on the back end, some of the code is based on, now there's been more innovation in how liquidity providers can provide to automated market maker DEXs like Theta Swap or Uniswap, or many you're probably familiar with. We can do more to make it for a given amount of liquidity. It will provide given amount of assets in the liquidity pool, provide more liquidity and less slippage for any amount of trade. So really improve the user experience and your trade execution. So that's going to help on the DEX side. But if you want to stick to centralized exchanges, those are going to be getting better and better now that you see more TNT20 tokens come in there.
Good. I think we'll have another question. Data drop again is related to the June 26 booster. After the initial 500,000 TFL, can you stake in 10,000 TFL steps or increments, or are there different rules? And so the short answer to that, and Jay, you correct me if I'm wrong, there is no minimum required. So you can stake an additional 1 TFL if you wanted to, and lock that up for 3, 6, or 12 months, or you can, you can lock an additional 5. So anywhere between 1 to 500,000 TFL.
Yeah, right. And then the locking will be managed by a smart contract, right? So you're not sending the tissue to us, but it will be on chain, everything.
Correct. So there'll be a smart contract on chain that you can monitor at any point in time, and the smart contract itself will enforce the locking mechanism. So when it becomes unlocked, then just like other forms of staking, there is a cooldown period, which depends. It's a certain number of blocks, but probably within a few days.
Yeah. Cool. So I saw the next one is a technical question. Is there an optimal NVIDIA driver, right? And does it even matter? So for that, I think the simple answer is that we're always trying to install, we always recommend to install the latest version of the drivers, right? And then with the CUDA enable, right? So that we'll prepare the machine for us to run those jobs that will potentially need to utilize the GPU processing power. Yep. That's good. Next question. So can the team tell more about the specs, right, of the edge node? How about, for example, how the GPU, the RAM size, the hard drive space for edge node, for example? Yeah, I think so. As I alluded to earlier, so community node will be our focus for phase 3, right? Which will come hopefully in a few months, right? Later in the year or coming into next year. So by then, as we get closer, we will release the exact spec, right, on our main page, documentation page. And then you can get the exact spec from there. We get closer. Yep. So
perfect. And of course there's GPU, high-end GPU levels, which are, typically data center, type of GPUs that you can certainly, all right, I know that you can outright purchase a rig or build your own with a A100 or B100 or something like that. So that's certainly possible. And all that, of course, becomes part of the network, right? And we'll recognize that as that having much more processing power, right? Than even a GPU, a 4090 GPU. Although we do see the 4090s the 4080s and 4090s as being very, very capable from an AI inference standpoint, being able to serve these models, particularly the text to image, certain chatbots and certain other types of models, and of course, as we continue to develop the technology. Going back again to the pipeline, AI pipeline, is that potentially some parts of the pipeline could be in a hybrid mode, right? Let's say that if you have, one model which is highly GPU intensive, such as let's say 2.5 to 3D, that be done within the cloud environment, whereas the initial step of generating that text to 2.5D, that could be done through our edge node. So that's kind of our vision, right? Sort of this very hybrid model where it's constantly optimizing price to performance, right? And that's how our vision eventually will outcompete, right? And customers will see that. Maybe we can take some more community questions. I think unless there's some more from Twitter.
Yeah, just one quick one we did pass, but pretty important. A user asked on Twitter that the status of Ledger. Just in case anyone missed it, check our tweet from, I believe it's April 17, around that time. But short answer is that we're working directly with Ledger team. This issue is about that Theta uses blind signing for their Ledger integration, and they announced a few months back, Ledger did, that they're phasing that out in June of this year. So we've been talking to their team directly for months and working on a solution. Turns out, in the end, they will not actually phase out blind signing immediately in June. So it's not going to change anything how you access on Theta Web Wallet with a Ledger for now. And we're collaborating with them on a new version entirely that's going to make it a better user experience, and we're hoping to have that out in the fall. But they assured us that there won't be any time where Theta users lose access to Theta assets on the Ledger. So they have it under control.
All right. Another community question on Data Drop. Oh, someone is asking whether these are my spelling bee awards that I got up on the wall here. I wish, when I was back in school, I was stuck pretty bad in spelling. So, no, those are actually our patents. Right. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I think it kind of spans beyond this edge over here. So we still have another three more walls around us that we can. As
we continue, so hopefully we can fill this conference room with patterns. So we don't need a painter or something. We don't need to decorate our room. So
there you go.
Just with all the patents.
There you go. Again, like we've always said in the past, these patents are just very strategic for us from the standpoint of working and collaborating with some of these strategic partners. It really underlies a lot of the technical capabilities, right? It's almost like a checkbox. Oh, you guys know what you're talking about from a technical standpoint, and then you have the protection, right? In developing something that's unique. And also related to that, Jay, today you tweeted about a very technical white paper which was submitted and
it got accepted by a top tier conference. I emphasize that the conference is very kind of premier forum, right, for the researcher for future direction of the World Wide Web, right. So, historically, there's a lot of very important research finding was published on this conference. In particular, the PageRank algorithm, which by Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the Google founders, right? So they originally published their paper on this conference back in 1999, right? So it's like 25 years ago. Right, which lays down the foundation for Google search engine, right? So we're pretty honored to be able to get accepted into this conference. I think one of the students in Professor Xiao's lab is actually currently in Singapore, right, attending this conference and doing presentation there. So as we continue, then we will continue to push the boundary in AI, in Web3, in blockchain, right, and then do even deeper research, right, to build our core technology. Our tech stack here. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very important for us from R&D perspective. But as you guys have probably already seen, we've always sort of come from the industry, and we're really good at taking these very forward-facing R&D projects and bringing them to market, and putting a go-to-market plan in place. So that's what our plan continues.
Yeah. So this Sketchless 3D is an example, right? So. Yeah, to my knowledge, it's probably the first such kind of demo or showcase in the world. So I haven't seen similar things elsewhere, from a sketch to the 3D.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get that up on the AI showcase next few weeks, and then you guys can all play with that as well. So very exciting.
Yep.
We have a question regarding whether we're able to integrate this into Midjourney, or is it just Stable Diffusion? Well, as you guys might know, Stable Diffusion is open source, and that's where we're able to not just take the base Stable Diffusion model, but they have many different versions, what's called checkpoints. Our snapshots to Stable Diffusion, we're able to incorporate that into the Edge Cloud. Midjourney is a proprietary model. So they control everything. They run it on their end, and whatever prompts or whatever it is you submit, that goes to their servers, right? So the short answer is that they're not open source, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a potential partner.
Yeah, and also the open source community is really active, right? They're constantly doing research and then doing, fine tuning of the model so that to improve the generation result, right? So maybe, as time goes by, the gap between those open source model and closed model will be narrower, right? It will shrink at some point that maybe the quality generated by our AI showcase, by our Edge Cloud platform, will be able to catch up and then, on par with whatever generated by Midjourney or Imagine, as closed source of the world.
Wes, who's your favorite guitarist? I'll just answer that quickly. Probably for nostalgia reasons, Kirk Hammett growing up. That's kind of where I first learned a few riffs and licks. So got to go with that.
Another question, any new subchains coming up, they be utilizing the Edge Cloud? And I think that's a really great question. I think the community, and, being the bull market that we are in, sometimes we lose sight of that. But if you zoom out, you always, see the pattern. That's what I do. So I don't have to be looking at the charts, every hour, every day. But if you look at every few weeks, you'll see that I think it was improving a little bit this morning. I haven't looked today. I think, but the point is that with our community and going to the bull market, always partners that are developing, looking to launch additional subchains. So we're really excited about that. And we're also seeing not just subchains within the media, entertainment, gaming space, but in various other verticals, which hasn't been announced yet. In all cases, Edge Cloud is a big part of that equation. I think that's one of the things that really separates and differentiates us from other, layer one chains out there, is the fact that not only do you have the building blocks and infrastructure to build your own token and your crypto ecosystem, but also the utility part, right? Being able to utilize our Edge Cloud and utilize our video infrastructure and our AI infrastructure, rendering infrastructure for their business. And I think that's where really becomes a really strong win-win for us. You guys rock. Yeah. Love you guys too. Yeah, we definitely need to do this AMA. It's been too long. I know the last one we did was at ThetaCon, and hopefully we'll do this a little bit more often. Although there is, just a reminder, there is a ThetaCon Europe coming up in Prague, which I will be there in June. So for those of you that's on the fence, come on out. Let's grab a drink. Let's talk, and of course I'll be in Vegas at the end of the year as well, and probably with most of the team, right? Because it's really just around the corner for us. Looking forward to meeting you guys there.
Yeah. For those of you who have attended TheaCons before, if you don't know Resorts World, this is an amazing venue in Vegas. It's the newest casino on the Strip and probably the best one. So yeah, get your tickets. It's going to be definitely the best ThetaCon yet.
Well, that's a question. Will JE make it to the first ThetaCon in person? Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a surprise, huh? You're going to parachute in one of these times?
Wow. I wish I could. Yeah, I'll try to see, if I can make it this time, really looking forward to see, the community in person, right? Discussing what's the next step, what you can build on EdgeCloud and all that.
Perfect. JE will definitely have 4 bodyguards around them, because without JE, we wouldn't have much much here.
Let's see. Disappeal Talk replay. Yeah, they've. I hope I'm not spoiling something that they haven't quite tipped off, but I think in only a few weeks they're going to start launching their first AI tools that are going to be using Edge Cloud. So big stuff coming there for more jobs for Edge Cloud, and we're really excited for them to start using the network more.
Yeah.
Playing T-Fuel as rare as GPU as well. I mean, depending on relative to the supply, it's possible T-Fuel is in even more demand. I don't know. It all depends on how many people need to use Edge Cloud and have to pay Edge node providers. So yeah, it's all about adding more on the demand side and building out these awesome tooling that JE and Co make, because that's going to increase demand for the network and drive demand for the native token.
Yeah, for sure. The utilization, the usage of our platform, right, for those partners and customers that want to be paying Edge Cloud with TFIO. As I mentioned also at the beginning of the AMA, it's just really amazing to see our elite node surpassing 10,000. At any given time, I think we're around 12,000 active nodes. And then in aggregate, over a course of a month, we're seeing somewhere now approaching 30,000 edge nodes, which are on and off, right? So those are unique nodes over the course of a month. And those are really major milestones for us. Very exciting. The fact that the amount of TFIO staked and locked is approaching 40%. As that number, which I'm sure will continue to go up over the next few months as we approach 50-60%. Unfortunately, however you look at that, it becomes a little bit more rare for our customer partners to then have to acquire that in the open market to pay for the product and services. So, on that part, of course, we're going to have to, look at the pricing of our services relative to, eventually we do want to have a pricing model where it's much more advantageous, much more beneficial for a customer to pay in TFIO over fiat currency. In fact, we would love nothing but to have our fiat or US dollar, Stripe, driving 0% of all the sales. We want everything to be flowing through TFIO. So we're going to give a benefit for customers to do that.
Yeah. So also I would like to also challenge our developers in our community, right, to build your application on top of Edge Cloud. So if your application gets popular and attract user, then inevitably that you need more GPUs, right, in Edge Cloud. They will drive the payment, especially drive the payment in TFIO, right? So this will increase the utility of TFIO, right? So this will make TFIO become even more rarer. So.
There's a couple questions around Ether, our partner Ether, that we announced as, Some of you may have read Kai Okamoto is an advisor to us for many years now, and he's an executive over at Aether. They're doing some really fantastic things. Our first partnership really involves, gaining access to Aether's infrastructure, which includes a number of GPUs, GPU farm. And one of the key things that I kind of want to stress is that our vision here at Theta is not necessarily to go into the hardware or the data center side of the business. That is just, I think, too risky. Hardware has way too many variables that you have to account for, including very large startup costs, and then not being able to scale that up and down in changing environments and economies. It's very risky. So we'll never necessarily get into the hardware side of things. However, with partners like Aether, we can have access to a large supply, right, of GPUs across different regions. So that's one of the things that is very challenging for us, is optimizing for not only where the customers are, but also for where their users are globally, so that we have the best experience. So we're always looking for redundancy, as well as being able to adapt to peak usage. And again, when you have instances which are reserved all the time, it's very expensive because they're always on. So you are essentially paying for them. And yet, when you do have an AMA, something like this, right, or when you do have a large scale campaign or whatnot, and you can draw 10 or 100x your usual number of users, you have to be able to account for that. And that's, again, a big part of the equation that we're trying to solve for in our price to performance ratio. Again, this is something that we don't talk about nearly as much, is the fact that when you have a decentralized network and we're able to bring that into different parts of the model pipeline and into a particular jobs that we're able to amortize, we'll be able to leverage the distributed nodes and be able to then build for that peak that peak usage. So I have there's another question on the Elite Booster. What's your estimation for CPU GPU usage? The white paper says 80 to 100%. I believe the white paper or the FAQ, or a combination of both, says it's very important. There's a word "if," right? If the GPUs are utilized 80 to 100%, then you should be able to see the APY approaching anywhere between 14 to 28%, or something in that range. Again, that depends on a number of different factors, a number of different variables. We will be launching with some initial partners, as well as powering our own AI showcase. As you guys know, we've just had an incredible amount of activity. I don't know if JE, can share any specific stats, but all of our instances which are allocated to the AI showcase, particularly the text to image, right? The stable diffusion is almost 100% utilized at all times, 24/7, and it's really incredible. I think we looked at a network map of where the active nodes are at any given point, and there's just these big blue blobs, blinking all over the world, and primarily concentrated in North America. Europe, UK, Australia, some parts of Asia, but it's really something.
Yeah. So try to use our AI showcase, right? It will, the more you use it, then the more utilization it is, right? And then potentially that wherever
you don't want to tell people that. Come on. Next thing you know, the whole community is going to be using our showcase all the time, and then all the lead boosters are going to be.
It's not in the sense that trying to crash our showcase, but in the sense that as you guys continue to use a showcase, you might discover some kind of more depth pattern, right? You can use it better. So this is what I saw on Twitter. A lot of people are showcasing their image generating from the showcase tool, right? And some people discovered that, hey, if I tweak my prompt a little bit, then it may be able to generate much higher quality image. And I also see hints.
Yes, our partner.
Our partner, yeah. So he just posted a YouTube video and then teach user, how you can tune your prompt so that it can generate, amazing results, right? So this is something we want to see. Not just go there and blindly, typing a dog, a cat, a fish, something like that. But they look into it and then see that what kind of parameter you can tune, and then how you can improve the prompt, right, to generate amazing result, right? So
for sure. I think there's a question around edge caching jobs, which is part of the Edge node today. So the edge caching and the caching functionality has now been folded into what was previously known as Theta Video API, which is now part of Edge Cloud Video, right? So anyone using our video infrastructure, right, for live stream or VOD, right, as part of Edge Cloud Video now, if you implement the Theta player, which has the peer-to-peer, the caching then occurs between the peers, and that will be folded into that. I think as part of the June 26th launch, there'll be some UI cleanup there. I think the caching section will be removed.
So I saw one comment here. You guys should share it on Twitter, right? This 2D to 3D model demo. So yeah, I think that there will be a couple of things we will share. One is one blog post, right, which will document the what actually the technology behind the scene, right? What actually when you click on those buttons, so what model are being used, and then what computation are going on the GPUs, right? We'll have that, and hopefully we'll have a recording of the demo session, so which we'll share on Twitter, right? So that you guys can watch it if you're interested.
We'll post on YouTube, and this more technical blog that we're preparing, we'll push that out tomorrow, hopefully. So we got a little bit of work after this AMA, but we'll kind of put everything that we demoed today into a blog that can be easily shared. And hopefully you all can help spread the word there. But once we get that up and running on the AI showcase, I think you guys can play with it yourselves, and then to send that link on to to friends, family, and industry folks. Any other questions you see there, Wes, coming from Twitter or anyone else, anywhere else?
Data relaying for replay. So I think these jobs have already been being submitted to Edge nodes. Actually, we just realized something the other day that those have been falling under the TVA umbrella. So because they had asked why their nodes weren't showing up with their own jobs, and we realized it wasn't being branded. So that's something we're checking out. But yeah, I think it's important because we've talked about this a little bit, but our vision eventually is for edge node operators to be able to have more control over which jobs that they're doing, almost like a marketplace where you're being bid for your service you're providing to the network. And that's going to be especially important when you see they may pay in T-Fuel, they may pay in other TNT20 tokens. You may want one or the other, or not want to do certain jobs. So that'll be important to have transparency about what the jobs are that's coming to your node, and then you'll be able to pick and choose which you're willing to provide your capacity to the network for.
Right. Also, I saw a few folks asking about the Edge Store, right? So yeah, I think that we should provide an update here, as mentioned in our white paper, right? So Edge Store in the context of Edge Compute, Edge Cloud, would probably take a different shape or form compared to the original KV store, right? So, for example, when you run those inference job for those large models, and for example, Stable Diffusion and others, you have to download those model, which is a gigabyte size, right? 6-7 gigabytes, right? So this will need to utilize some of the storage on the user's computer, on a cloud computer, and then those will be accounted for in our final calculation about the reward, right? So you get a piece of reward for the compute, but also get a piece for the storage, right? So this is will be the kind of the new format for the Edge store.
Correct. So this is part of the last phase, what we describe as the phase 3, where we begin to integrate the edge network, right, into the overall architecture. So when you run your own node, hypothetically, say for instance, if you're running a text to video AI model because you have a 4090, or maybe you have something even more powerful than that. Turns out that these text to video AI models are extremely large. What would you say is the size of some of these models?
Yeah, it could be 6-7 gigabytes or even larger, right, in the future, depending on, right, so
gigabytes. And again, like with something like Stable Diffusion, I've seen in GitHub and open source forums where there are many different versions of Stable Diffusion. I think there are at least dozens, if not hundreds and hundreds of different checkpoints and variations. And so when all those are effectively stored locally, and when your edge node is then issued a job to process, right, to serve as inference, right, for a particular version of Stable Diffusion, it would then load up that Stable Diffusion on your local GPU, right, into memory, right, from disk. But the fact that those models have to be residing on disk before that, right, a priori, so that you have an efficient way of serving that up on a real-time basis. And so if each of these Stable Diffusion is somewhere between 5 and 10 gigabytes, you can imagine when you have 100 variations of this, and that's just text to image, right? And again, Edge Cloud is an open platform where we're going to be supporting all sorts of different types of AI models, right? As we all seen, even real-time interactions now that's been announced by everyone from OpenAI to Google, voice to voice, text to voice, voice to text, real time, all that becomes a lot of data, and that's a really big part of our vision there. Mitch, are you confident on Theta being $100 this bull run? I don't know. What do you think? Do I look like I'm confident? We certainly can't comment on price, but hopefully you can tell that we are very excited about where we're going.
Yeah. I saw someone ask a question about if Theta Labs doesn't have any Theta left, what incentive they have to continue to keep building. But yeah, at the rate that's going, that would be, I just did some back of the envelope math, and that would be at least 20 years, if not longer, from now. So I would say if we're in the year 2044 and Theta is not sustainable as a network without, us as individuals or Theta Labs, then that's probably a bigger problem. But, it's few decades down the road. So
yeah. And the follow-on question about T-Drop not being distributed for liquidity mining. Yeah, so we're aware that T-Drop is lagging behind. Originally, as liquidity mining, for anyone that essentially buys, the reward goes to the buyer or the seller.
The T-Drop, right?
The T-Drop, yeah.
Right.
So in any case, I forget whether this goes to the buyer or seller, but we're lagging behind in that distribution, and that goes back to Wes's earlier point of really opening up that ecosystem. That's something that we are excited and we're looking at. So essentially, incorporating and utilizing T-Drop for ecosystem projects and partner other marketplaces, other gaming platforms, etc., so that there is additional utility. It also becomes sort of a way for us to allocate sort of ecosystem funds or tokens, right, to encourage building around Theta. There you go. Theta will be $1,000. I mean, that's exactly why I didn't want to answer the earlier question, because I knew it wasn't going to be 100.
It'll be on Theta Island by then. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the going rate on an island is, but I'm sure it's in. If you add up the whole community, I'm sure it's in our price range. Yeah.
Terrific. I think we're coming up to 2:30, or close to an hour and a half. I think we're pretty close to wrapping this up. I don't know if there's last minute questions. Yes, iOS devices. Yes, that's also in our plans. A little bit trickier with Apple, as you know, Apple approves every app that goes on their platform. It's a little bit more complex. Also, the tech stack on iOS is a little bit more challenging, where all the permissions and whatnot. So that's something that we are continuing to look at.
Yeah, but I think even the Android version that would be a great learning process, right? We will be able to amass a lot of data point from there and see that whether we can port those technology to iOS, right, or build something and hopefully eventually be able to distribute it to billions of devices, right, in the future.
Are we going to make it to top 10 ranking this bull run? Why would we even be thinking about top 10? Why not just ahead of Ethereum? Will be good.
Yeah.
All right. Should we wrap it up, Wes? I think it's been great.
Yeah, this is good. Always good to spend time with the community and talk with you guys directly. Hopefully, we'll be seeing a bunch of you guys in June in Prague, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, if you're anywhere nearby and anywhere near Europe, come on by in June, and or Vegas. All right, guys. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Great. Thank you all. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Bye.